Hello, so this video is a book review. It's a book review of Heroines of the Medieval World by Sharon, Bennett, Connolly. I featured this book in a recent book haul and lots of you really got excited about it and wanted a review of it, so here I am to do it for you today. So I'm going to start off, slightly unusually for me, with the quote, because I think the best way in order to describe this book is for you to get chucked into it straight away. So the part that I'm going to read you is from the introduction. It's the first bit of the book. Heroines come in many different forms, and it is no less true for medieval heroines. They can be found in all areas of medieval life, from the dutiful wife and daughter to the religious devotees, warriors and rulers. What makes them different compared to those of today are the limitations placed on them by those who directed their lives, their fathers, husbands, priests and kings. Women have always been an integral part of history, although when reading through the chronicles of the medieval world, you would be forgiven if you did not know it. We find that the vast majority of written references are focused on men. The chronicles were written by men, and more often than not written for men. It was men who ruled countries, fought wars, made laws and treaties, dominated religion and guaranteed, or tried to guarantee, the continued survival of their world. It was usually the men, but not all of them, who could read, who were trained to rule, and who were expected to fight and defend their people and their country. You'd be forgiven for assuming that the only role for a noblewoman or any woman was to provide heirs and inheritors for men, that medieval women were seen as property or chattels. From the moment of their birth, they were property of their fathers, who would decide their future, whether they married and to whom, or joined a convent. Their father dictated their level of education, and his connections decided their position in life and their future sphere of influence. Once they married, women became the property of their husbands. They were needed to carry on a family line and to run the home and estates while the husband was away fighting or attending the king. The women's sphere of influence would rarely extend beyond the domestic. This book, Heroines of the Medieval World, is about the women who broke that. So the idea of a woman's life being property of your father, property of your husband, or being placed in a nunnery, etc., that is one side of the medieval world. But this book focuses on the other side, the very few women that broke the mould, that were very different to the norm. This book is in sections, so we have women who were rulers, we have women who were writers, we have women who were mistresses or who were involved in scandal. All of these women, have different roles to play in the medieval sphere, but all of them together broke the mould of normality for society, of what society expected of a woman of that period. There are women in here that you expect to find. So you'll find Eleanor of Aquitaine, of course. You also find Catherine Swineford in here, who I do think is fascinating, who I learned a bit more about when I read the book, also by the same publisher, which is Amberley, which is the House of Beaufort. And there are also lots of women that you might not ever have heard of, but all of these women are truly fascinating. They all have really interesting lives, and lives which for hundreds of years, which is such a shame, have gone under the radar, and all of these women are an inspiration to us women today. This book is the depiction of women's history. If you say, oh, I love women's history, then you have to get this book, regardless of whether you're into medieval history or not. This is just perfect for anyone who's interested in learning about the history of women. The writing in this book is really clear and concise, and it's also really addictive. The other thing about this book is the fact that because there's so many women in it, you learn about one woman and you're like, right, I'm going to get a full biography about her, I'm going to just learn about her, and then you read about the next one and you're addicted to her life as well. There's just so many women that I need to read more about now. Ooh. So that's it for my review of this book. Now, there is a blog tour going on with this book at the moment, so I'll leave all details linked down below if you want to check out more about this book. And if you want to go ahead and get yourself a copy, it will also be linked in the description bar below. Click the link and it'll take you straight to the book depository. So that's it for today's video. In the comments section down below, please let me know if this book now is on your wish list, or was it on your wish list before? Is it your cup of tea? That's it for today's video. Take care, and I shall see you soon for the next one. Bye for now.